All right, so it should be about Thursday for you guys, and I want to go over the quiz that you took, hopefully as a practice for your test tomorrow. So it's really important to know that the quiz covers safe practices during lab, understanding the use and conservation of resources and proper disposal or recycling of materials, compare the functions of different types of biomolecules, including carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids, and identify and investigate the role of enzymes. It's really focused on 9A and 9C, and so is your test. So one of the big things you're going to have to do on your test is know the material on 9A and 9C. So hopefully you took this quiz. There were 2 attempts, so hopefully you took it and kind of got an idea of what the tests are going to look like. You can see my screen here. So I did that so that you can see what's going on. This is the best view I have of the quiz. So question 1 says, which of the following types of biomolecules are used by animals for long-term storage of energy? This is just a regular question. Should be a very simple question if you studied or look at the notes or even listen to me review in class when you were here this week. So this would be lipids. Okay, number 1 would have been lipids. Number 2, both lipids and carbohydrates can be used by the cells as the answer is sources of energy. The first one, sources of energy. That's the commonality, or that's the thing that when you compare lipids and carbohydrates, that's the similarities between lipids and carbohydrates. Okay? Yours may have been in a different order because we had the orders switch out. Okay? Number 3, enzymes can only participate in one chemical reaction. They cannot be reused. That is false. Enzymes are specific to a substrate, but they can be used many times as long as the environment is safe. Remember, enzymes can be denatured if it's high pH. Enzymes can be natured with high salinity or salt content. Enzymes can be denatured or destroyed with high temperatures. But if all the conditions are right, enzymes can be reused over and over. So number 3, enzymes can only participate in one chemical reaction. That they cannot be reused is false. Okay. Number 4, look at the reaction illustrated in the diagram below. Which structure represents the enzyme? So the enzyme is B. Okay, the enzyme is B all the way across. This one split apart the product, but the enzyme is still B. Number 5, which of the following is not a function of lipids? Storage of energy, speed up chemical reaction, insulation of animals, component of cell membrane. The answer is speed up chemical reactions, because the thing that speeds up chemical reactions is an enzyme or a catalyst. Okay? So the answer is speed up chemical reactions. Number 6, which graph below correctly represents the effect that enzymes have on the activation energy of a chemical reaction? In the graphs below, the dashed line indicates the activation energy with the enzyme, and the solid line indicates the activation energy without the enzyme. So they're just saying, what does it look like in a graph form if you have an enzyme, and the enzyme being the dashed line? We went over this in class, but you should have gotten D or the last answer. So an enzyme lowers the energy, and here's energy on the y-axis. An enzyme lowers the energy of that reaction. Okay, so the answer is this last one, because the solid line represents just a regular reaction, and an enzyme lowers the activation energy. That's what they do. Okay, so the answer is D. Number 7, an experiment was set up to test the effect of light intensity on the rate of photosynthesis, as shown in the diagram below. Data were collected by counting gas bubbles released in a 5-minute period when the light source was placed at various distances from the experimental setup. The data are shown in the table below. So here's your data. Here's the distance from the light, bubbles in a 5-minute period. The number of bubbles released when the light source is at a distance of 38 centimeters would most likely be closest to, and what you need to see is there's no 38 in here. So you're going to assume that 38 goes between 30 and 45. See that? 30 and 45, and so then your number would be between 6 and 13. So the only option of the number between 6 and 13 is 10. So the answer for this one is 10. The things that give you clues are most likely, closest to. So you want to make sure that you're really reading what they're asking for and looking at the chart and the pictographs or whatever. Number 8, the complex carbohydrates pictured below are made by linking molecules of glucose. So these are all glucose, okay? In all 3 complex carbohydrates are made out of the same elements, remember CHO, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. The subunits of glucose are bonded together differently because they have different structures. They most likely, the answer for this one is perform different functions. We know that all carbohydrates have the same chemical elements. We know that carbohydrates are not proteins. And we know that carbohydrates are not made out of the monomer nucleotides. Carbohydrates are made out of monosaccharides. So the only answer that this could be is perform different functions. Okay, number 9. Enzymes blank the rate of reactions by blank the activation energy. Enzymes increase the rate of reactions by decreasing the activation energy. That's what they do. So enzymes increase the rate of the reaction by decreasing the activation energy. All right, number 10. A graph of the population growth of 2 different species is shown below. So here's species A, and this darker area says grown in water with a high oxygen content, and then the slashed area is grown in water with low oxygen content. What conclusion can be drawn from information in the graph? You know that in science you're going to have lots of graphs and lots of things with answers in the graph. So you have to be able to look at data or look at graphs and draw conclusions from them. So is species B requires a high oxygen concentration to stimulate population growth? No, because species B needs the low oxygen concentration, so that can't be the answer. Oxygen concentration affects population sizes of different species in the same manner. It doesn't look like it because they have to have different oxygen concentrations. So that doesn't look like it's the answer. Low oxygen concentration does not limit the population of either species observed. That's not true because low oxygen content limits how many of species A can survive. So the only answer that can be true is that species A requires a high concentration for maximum growth. So they need high concentration for maximum growth. So the answer here is D. Question 11. A biologist collected the data shown in the table below. So here's our data: grasshoppers, birds, spiders, and these are months, numbers of organisms. Again, this is reading just data. Which statement is supported by the data in the table? So you have to ask yourself, which one is true? So grasshoppers increased in length in July. Let's see. It doesn't even talk about length. So I don't think that's it. The population are highest in September. So we're looking at September of the populations are highest in September. So no, because different species have different highest populations at different times. Seasonal variations may affect populations. So that could be true. So depending on if you're in summer or fall or spring, it could affect it. Populations do not vary from month to month. That's false. So the only answer is C. Seasonal variations may affect populations. Okay, question 12. The graph below shows the effect of moisture on the number of trees per acre in 5 tree species. So down here it says dry and wet. You always want to look at your X and Y axis when you're trying to figure out data, especially on a graph like this. So it's the red oaks and the black oaks tend to do better in drier seasons, and in more medium seasons, it looks like sugar maple does well. And in wet seasons, American elm and black willow seem to do well. So number of trees per acre. So if it's a higher increase, then that's the number. That's a good thing. That means more of them. Which observation best represents information shown in the graph? So this is asking true and false, kind of. So sugar maples can grow anywhere black oaks can grow. So here's a sugar maple and here's black oaks. It does not look like it. That does not look like a true statement. They would overlap each other if that was true. The American elm grows in the widest range of moisture conditions. The American elm seems to grow. That could be true. So because it seems to grow kind of on the latter half. Red oaks can grow in wetter conditions than black willows. So red oaks, no, because they need to be in a dry condition, and black willows, no. So that's false. All 5 species grow in the same habitat. That's false. So the only one that can be true is that the American elm grows in the widest range of moisture conditions. So it still grows kind of in a longer range than everybody else. So the answer is B. Question 13. There are over 2,000 kinds of edible insects in the world, and they are becoming an increasingly popular source of protein. 1 cup of cricket flour contains over 28 grams of protein. The building blocks of protein in cricket flour are, none of that was important except for the last line. The building blocks of protein in cricket flour are amino acids. We just know that because proteins monomers are amino acids. Okay, question 14. Which of the following macromolecules stores energy and provides insulation and is therefore found in large quantities in organisms that are adapted to live in cold environments or go long periods of time without food? The answer is lipids, because lipids is used for insulation. We got to think about seals and walruses. Okay, they have lots of blubber. That's a lipid. Insulation. Okay. Question 15. Fat molecules typically contain long chains of carbon atoms. Animals tend to store fats for use when food resources are scarce. This is an advantage for the animal because amino acids from fat synthesis are more easily digested than carbohydrates. Much energy can be gained by breaking the bonds between atoms in these fat molecules. Energy can only be created by digesting fats. That's not true because carbohydrates do it too. Fats give off carbon dioxide that can be used by the muscles. We've never even talked about that. So then we come back to amino acids from fat synthesis are more easily digested than carbohydrates. We haven't really talked about that. So the only answer that's plausible or that could be true is much energy can be gained by breaking the bonds between atoms in these fat molecules. The key here is that much energy. A lot of energy is from fats and lipids. All right, question 16. Oh, I may have to pull these down. Hold on. I may have to do each of these one by one. All right, let's see if y'all can follow this. So study of, the answer for study of would have been ology. The answer for fat would have been lipo. And these are directly off the unit handouts. The answer for iron would have been ferro. Okay, and so you need to start learning these. I know today you could have used your notes and you can on your test tomorrow, but make sure you still know the information. Sugar is saccharum, and then enzyme is ACE. Oops. Enzyme is ACE, ACE. So those are just reading right off. Those are either just memorization if you can't use your notes, or just write off that chart in your unit handout. Question 17. During soccer practice, your coach says that you need to drink Gatorade, not just water. You notice that you are able to accomplish more during those practices when you have Gatorade instead of just water. A Gatorade label is shown below. What we're looking for is, okay. Sorry, that doesn't realize. What we're looking for is, we are looking for energy, right? So we're looking for fats. We're looking for carbs. What evidence from this nutrition label can explain why you accomplish more during practice when you drink Gatorade? Well, if you look here, you see that total carbs is 36 grams, and from those carbs, 34 grams are from sugar. That's quick energy. So your answer should be something like water does not have any carbs in it or sugar, and Gatorade has sugar, which are quick carbs. It doesn't have any fat, so you can't really address the fat, but I would have taken anything that talks about sugar and carbs and how many are in this label compared to water. The final question is the diagram below shows the series of reactions that change the starting molecule A into the product D. So there's the molecule, and we're trying to get to D. If enzyme 3 is denatured or destroyed, the level of which molecule, A, B, C, or D, would be expected to increase? Explain why you would expect this molecule to increase. Well, the answer is enzyme 3 is taken out. If it's destroyed, that means that this reaction makes a whole bunch of C over and over and over again. So C would be the one that increases because it's constantly moving like a traffic signal. That's what I used in class to explain it. It's constantly moving like a traffic signal. But if you blocked off the traffic signal or you turn the power off, you would still be making a whole lot of C. None of D would be made. So you would expect C to increase because the reaction, now the new product is C, and you're getting a whole lot of that product over and over and over again. All right, hopefully that helped. Please let me know if you have any questions. I am available by Google Voice. I'm available by email, and hopefully you'll all do well on the test tomorrow. Yay, I know you can do it. And I'm available if you need anything. Thanks.